to another edition of Resources for Life TV at resourcesforlife.com. My name is Greg Johnson, and this is a part 2 video of a video that I posted a couple of days ago about the ProForm elliptical. This is the ProForm 390E, and I promised that I would show a little bit of some tips about setting it up and use. And the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of walk you through the basic setup. And if you've purchased the machine, you have the directions. If you need them, by the way, if for some reason you bought it on eBay or you're trying to reassemble it, you don't have the directions, you can probably get that online as a PDF, but if you can't find it, let me know. Maybe I'll post it on the web. So anyway, the basic walkthrough on the instructions to set it up, there's some really important tips that you're going to need to accomplish this and make it really work. We're going to start at the back down here. There are 2 bolts that go in, and that fastens this foundation unit here to stabilize the rear of the machine. It's very heavy. If you're carrying it, you're going to have to probably have 2 people, by the way, because these bars are just loose, these bars here. If you're carrying it on your own, you can kind of make it work, but it's just a little more challenging. Well, anyway, you fasten this first, and then you move up to the front of the unit, and you fasten this front bar, again, with 2 long bolts. You want to make sure that's really tight. And from there, the next main part that goes on here is this vertical beam, I'll call it. There's a collar here that kind of protects it from sweat and that kind of thing, and it can snap off. You're going to actually have to get this collar removed eventually by snapping it off. I'm going to leave ours, but there are 4 bolts in here, and they might get loose after the first few uses of the machine. So you might not even want to securely, maybe you don't want to securely fasten this collar on as the instructions suggest, because you're going to start hearing some squeaking. It's just like a bicycle. When you buy a new bicycle, they get it adjusted, but they recommend, bring the bicycle back after a certain period of time, because there will be some loosening of parts. So that's something you're going to notice within the first few days, probably. Some squeaking from here, and there are 3 bolts under these pedals. Since we're talking about squeaking, I'll mention this as well. Those will probably need to be tightened again as well, because those also have some washers that can loosen up a little bit. So keep that in mind. Anyway, there are 4 bolts here. You will, in this process, pull some wires through this hollow tube, and those will come out the top of the tube, as well as the next step, which is fastening these handles on here to the back. They have wires in them as well. So all of these wires are going to come through the top of this tube. And once you've done that, you're going to attach those wires to this top piece, the sort of brains of the system, and then that's all going to bolt down to the top here. So you've essentially started with the 2 legs, put this on with the 4 bolts down here, and run the wires through. This goes on top, these heart rate monitor handles. I want to point out that these are just very thin metal pads. They're heart rate sensor pads. They're stuck on there with glue, and so you might notice that they're a little bit loose. Just be really careful with those, and if you need to, you can kind of push them back in place and maybe apply some adhesive if necessary. But basically that's the rear assembly back here, bolting all that down. And then the next step is getting these arms put on. What you want to do first is assemble the lower piece and the upper piece of the right and left arms before you even try to attach it here. And then once those are assembled properly with the hexagonal shape in the back, actually there's some bolts back here, then you go ahead and slide them on here in the middle, and then you attach the base. Well, that's where you're going to really need some help. That's probably the most difficult thing, is to get the long bolt run through this hole that's in the base here. And the reason is because these parts are assembled separately, and they're on an assembly line. It runs through, and so nobody's ever really tried putting this together until you get it out of the box, right? As it turns out, it's very likely that that bolt hole that goes through won't line up with this nut on the other side, okay? So you may need to use a lot of force to kind of get that lined up. It probably is a good idea to go ahead and, before even trying to attach this, take the bolt, and there's a box with all the bolts, and there basically is only one place for each bolt to go. Because they're different lengths and sizes, you'll be able to figure that out if you have the instructions. It makes it a lot easier. But you may want to pre-thread that bolt. Just make sure it's going to thread in okay. Once you've assured yourself of that, then take the bolt out, and then take this base of the arm, put that, line it up, get this in there, get the bolt through, and you might have to like pull this out or push it in or bring the arm to the side. You might have to do quite a few things to get that bolt through to line up. At least that was our experience with this. So anyway, once you have those bolts through the bottom of the arms, and these are attached at the top, then you're nearing completion. You want to get these covers on. They're actually more than just decorative. They help protect the unit from having salty sweat dropping on the parts of the unit where they would it might get rusty or cause problems. So anyway, these just snap in place on the right and left here, and snapping in place here. You want to make sure you get these snapped on before trying to put this middle piece in, because it actually goes around these covers, okay? And a note about this middle cover piece, it has a little drink holder that can pop out. There are 2 screws in the rear here that you're going to want to fasten this on with and snap this all together. There's also a 3rd screw underneath here. We didn't use that because you would really need a very long, thin screwdriver to go in there, and that's not really a common size of screwdriver, unfortunately. So this works fine, even if you don't have that 3rd screw in there. You just want to be a little more careful with it. And so then, as I didn't really mention about the foot pedals, but at some point along the way, probably toward the end, I think that was like the last step. There are 3 bolts under here. You want to make sure those foot pedals get securely fastened. If they're loose at all, you're going to hear some squeaking when you use the unit. There are these little caps that this one actually got bumped, and they're not really very secure, but they just kind of keep you from knocking that bolt with your shin. So anyway, some tips then about this unit. I just want to point out the main system, the computer system, runs on D-size batteries. There is a fan. You can have high and low settings on the fan. Very nice. It works very effectively. I haven't used it much because I'm waiting for our AC power adapter to come. This does not come with a power adapter normally, so you have to order that. If you use the fan and if you use the speakers while you're on battery power, those batteries aren't going to last very long. Okay, so while you're on battery power, you may want to just use the elliptical as an exercise machine only. And but once you get the power adapter, that should work fine. Another really important point is, while we were at the store, the salesperson plugged an adapter into the demonstration unit, and we started smelling fire. I mean, the thing like almost caught on fire. It was stinking really bad, electrical fire in this main unit, and it was just because he happened to grab the wrong power adapter. So this does not have very good circuitry to avoid a system override or over voltage issue. So you want to make very careful you're getting a 6-volt adapter that has the right polarity for this unit. That's really key. Otherwise you could damage it. I'd also highly recommend that you go ahead and get the 2-year warranty for this, because it seems like there are quite a few things that could break down on it. Okay, I'm just reviewing my list real quick. I think, oh yeah, another thing is pulse monitors on exercise equipment are notoriously inaccurate. This thing will jump from 120 beats per minute to 160. I really can't rely on it. I wouldn't recommend you try to. So just use the counter in the clock here. Wait 6 seconds or 10 seconds or however you want to do it, 15 seconds, but counting your pulse at your wrist. Get a good accurate pulse so you don't want to overwork yourself and have a heart attack or something. So anyway, I think that's about it. Oh, the only other thing, this says it's iPhone compatible. It is iPod compatible. If you get your device too close, it's going to cover up the display. It's also going to make noise through the speakers other than music. So if you have any further questions, feel free to email me, post a video, or get in touch through the website. Thanks again. Greg Johnson with resourcesforlife.com.